All right, welcome Industry 45 Quick Spin Show. Shane Christopher Neal and Craig Rewbury. Welcome, my friend.
Hi, Shane. Thanks for having me.
So Craig has this great band called the Cabaret Quicksand, come up with a couple of years ago, put an album out last year called The Company You Keep. So first, let's go back to, you have been a rock star in Niagara for many decades in the band Jonesy, right?
Well, I don't know about rock star, but definitely, yes, I have played for
every
many years.
festival, every big gig, always
every
Jonesy.
Single one. Every single one. Yeah.
When did you decide you wanted to become an original independent artist?
Yeah, so I've always written songs, but I think I just wanted to do a project. I decided somewhere in 2015, I had the idea of putting something together, just something a little different, not just a band per se, but people that mean something to me.
Right,
that I
because
with and,
the Cabaret Quicksand is made up of you as the primary member, but with multiple people playing on the album.
Right. So I did use the same rhythm section, obviously, with
Richard Allen Brown.
Right.
You notice how I always got to say his three names.
Yeah.
Richard Allen Brown.
Yeah, I think that's the way he wants it.
That's how it is on Facebook. So, and so you two are the only real constants in the band. Jesse Stahl sang most of the songs.
Yeah, probably 60% of it. And,
Right.
And then we had a couple other singers, Scott from Jonesy.
Right.
Rob Lane, Brad Battle.
I forgot that Rob Lane was even a singer.
Right. So Rob and I played in a band called Waiting for Jane.
With Phil Wellman.
Phil Wellman. And so the whole thing just is connected. The dots
It's
are
very
connected.
incestual.
Right.
So here we are a year later, because this was released on BS Live Rocks Records, by the way, a year ago.
Right.
What do you think of the album now when you listen to it?
I have a little bit different of an opinion, obviously. Like when you're recording over a year and a half, you're constantly listening to the songs. You're rewinding.
You're sick of them by the time they come out.
You're sick of the song. So I think you just got to get away from it and come back with fresh ears, maybe after 2-3 months. And then so when I listen to it now, as opposed to when it came out, I have a different opinion. I think it's I don't know how would I describe that. I guess it's a little more fresh to me than it was before.
Okay. And what would you change, if anything, about it? Like you produced it in analog.
Right.
And you were the producer and you did it at Rob Deacon's studio. Right. And so what would you change, not necessarily about any of those, but just in general about the album?
Yeah, I think the next few songs that I do I'll probably have a producer. I think you just have to be...
Well, why was it hard to be a producer?
Well, I think you're too close to the music, right? And even though you know what you want in your head and you can hear it, I think other ideas are more important. Somebody's that doesn't... I guess they're not close to the music and they don't have a personal...
connection to the song. I get it. Okay.
And so they're hearing it in different ways. How can it be presented and what sounds can we use? All that stuff, right? So...
And you have a song on this album that does not appear in the notes at the back, which is called "Oh Candy," which is kind of an interesting story. Tell that. That's kind of and it's a Cheap Trick song,
but
right?
The label did sign off on it.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened.
I don't know
there.
the label. Horror BS Live Rocks. I wouldn't deal with those folks.
No, it was my fault on that one. I dropped the ball on that. So it was.
Can we get that in writing that it was your fault?
I already drafted a letter up, but we did. I dropped the ball on it because we were kind of crunching. It was time for artwork time. And
And I remember that time. People may not know, but BS Live Rocks Records is a label that I have with Bobby Rock. And I remember there was so many emails and so many different images and stuff.
Right.
It's hard, really.
It is. It's a full-time job and you got to be sharp. If this was a real label, Shane, we would have been fired.
Is the label going to recoup any money? I just want to know that. That's all I care about at this point.
How do you recoup zero?
I know, it's true. You did an album release at the Warehouse, which was pretty much sold out. Great show. You brought all these musicians up. Is your band going to be playing more in 2019, do you think?
I think, well, the key is just to keep writing this year with as many people as I can, get better, learn, and then obviously looking to perform some of this stuff live would be nice.
Right. Well, you do it acoustically. You and Jesse have done some.
Sometimes we'll do duo stuff, and but to put a band together, that's a whole different animal. So I'll be looking at probably doing that this year to perform some of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, you're going to don huge stages because your label's going to get you probably prime.
I hope so.
Prime locations. Let's go with some songwriting. This is the Industry 45 Quickspin Show. I am Shane Christopher Neal. This is Craig Rewbury from the Cabaret Quicksand and Jonesy, and he plays with Brad Battle, actually, don't you? You play bass with Brad?
Yeah, when Brad needs me, when he does a full band thing, I'll play with him as well.
Let's talk a bit about songwriting. You've been a songwriter, obviously, writing this album, but you recently went down to Nashville. And you tell us how you got down there, your connection with Angela Siracusa, and kind of what happened with that.
So we did back in the summertime, we did a radio promotion thing with One Song Remission.
Right.
That's on the record for rock radio across Canada and college radio. So Angela's partners, Gil Grand, which is he's down in Nashville, and
right.
Mason Pitts is more the rock side of things. That's his genre. He's a player, also a bass player. He's performed with pretty much everybody. He played bass for Rufus Wainwright.
See, I always thought bass players were lame. They didn't do anything. And here, you guys are all the stars. Nikki Sixx.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Right.
So you go to Nashville, you take a connection out of South Carolina or North Carolina, one of the two, and he lives there, Mason does. You fly to Nashville, and then what happens?
Gil Grand picks us up at the airport.
You go for a beer because it's the first thing you do when you get to Nashville. Yep.
You get very thirsty. And that's day one. And then day two, the work starts. And we went down to a writing room in Nashville that Gil has access to.
What's a writing room?
Well, they're pretty common in Nashville. Like everybody in Nashville writes with each other. So they're all over the place. It's basically just a house with multiple rooms in it where you would just go.
Do you get the vibe though in there like that? Yeah,
you do. You get the paraphernalias there, the instruments, and they'll have a piano, they'll have old furniture, and it is a vibe for sure. And
so, what did you take away from this? You were there for what? How long? A week or not quite?
I was there for 4 or 5 days.
Okay, so you're writing with Mason and Gil, and you bring a country song to the table. Yet Mason's a rock guy. So explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I think Mason and I kind of talked about it in advance that we're kind of open to all different genres, but. Although the Cabaret project is more of a rock thing,
right? You have one country song on it,
There's
kind
one
of that Brad sings, right?
But we did talk about we're pretty open to different genres. Like he writes in different genres. I think I write in different genres as well. So I don't think there's any barriers when you write. I think just whatever comes up at the time, you just kind of
go with that feeling and vibe.
You don't put a wall up, and you just go with it. And luckily, Gil was there, that's his genre.
Right. Who, by the way, just won a Grammy.
He did. I was told he won a Grammy this year for a Reba McEntire song.
Right. So, first-class writer. And did you write, besides that song, you wrote some rock songs?
So, yeah, I had a couple ideas that I brought. They were pretty much complete. I needed a bridge for one, and then I needed some instrumentation for other, like, little hooky things.
Right.
And so we worked on that. Mason and I are still working together on Skype.
So what did he teach you then as a writer? I mean, whether it's, I don't know, like be patient about something.
Well, yeah,
don't be afraid to take things in a different direction. Like what did you kind of...
and I think, I don't know if there's a perfect recipe, but one thing I learned that I think kind of backed up what I always thought was that really there is no rules to writing.
Right.
But you don't want to paint yourself into a corner. So you really should start off with your main hook, your main chorus, and then tell the story from there, because I think that's, if you try to do it opposite, you might back yourself into a corner if you try to write a verse first maybe, or
right.
It's just the concept and the lyrics. I think you got to go with your hook.
So would you say that come in 2019 here, you're in a band, you have your original project, but you want to get more into music publishing and songwriting and that? Do you think that's
I think that's a fair assumption.
Yeah.
I just like to go to the next level, and I just want to keep improving. I want to get better. I want to learn from everybody. I want to write with as many artists as I can.
Are you gonna have a second album?
If it's not a record, it'll definitely be some single release,
like an EP or something. Yeah.
I haven't decided yet what we're gonna do.
And give me one thing you want to accomplish by the end of this year.
Just want to get better songwriter.
This show on Giant TV is better because of you, Craig Rewbury, the Industry 45 show. Thank you so much for coming down all the way here to the studio. Yeah. It must be cold where you are wearing that toque.
It is. Thanks for having me, Shane.
All right, cheers.